This unit is a short introduction to accessing ADABUS data from Natural. These are the 4 basic Natural statements for accessing data in ADABUS. Read for sequential access, find for selecting a set of records, get for getting one record using an internal database key, and finally, histogram for giving a count of records with specific key values. First, let's talk about the read statement, which is a fast way of reading through many records sequentially. But before we can access data, we need to define the view of the data we want to look at. So we'll define data local and end define. Now we'll right-click to access the Natural One Advanced features to import data fields. In this case, from the Cruise DDM, where we'll choose Top Level, Cruise ID, Start Date, and Start and Destination Harbor. Let's change the default name of our local view to Cruise. Now we'll create a read loop where we specify the view, which in our case is Cruise. Inside the loop, we want a statement, so we'll say Display Cruise. This simple loop would actually be sufficient to go through all the cruise records in the database. But let's restrict it a bit by adding a key and a start value. So let's read Cruise by the descriptor Start Harbor equals the Bahamas. We'll save and run, and we get a list of all cruises starting from the Bahamas at the top of the list. Let's restrict it even further by adding an end value. We'll say ending at Cadiz. Save and run, and now the list of results is even shorter. Let's now refactor this read example into a find statement. So we'll change read and end read to find and end find. Change by to with, and get rid of the end value. The big difference between the read and find statements is that a read can only have one criterion because it loops through the data sequentially, while a find statement can have multiple search criteria to select the result set. So we can add another search criterion. So we'll add and start date greater than January 1st, 2019. The last thing I want to do is add the ISN number, which is the unique key for a record, and I'll explain why in a second. When we save and run, we'll see the few records which match the 2 search criteria. You may have noticed that in our read example, the records were sorted alphabetically by the key value used. But the find statement allows for multiple keys, meaning that the results are, by default, always sorted by ISN number. Here, 2050 is the lowest. Let's now look at how to get a single record if we already have the ISN number, such as 2050, available to us. So we'll remove find and end find and instead write get cruise 2050. We'll save and run, and there's the record. In our last example, we'll see how to access a count of the occurrences of each descriptor or index. This is very similar to a select count statement in SQL. This view can only work with the descriptor variable, so we'll remove the 3 additional fields. Then we'll change this to histogram, cruise, the descriptor name Start Harbor. Display Start Harbor and star asterisk number to show number of occurrences. And end the loop with end histogram. Save and run, and we can see the number for each Start Harbor. So to summarize, read is for sequential access, find is for selecting a set of records, get is for a single record, and histogram is for number of occurrences of the descriptor values.